In Ukraine, where Joseph Lindsley is, it's 3:22 in the afternoon. We're hearing that Russian strikes overnight have caused serious destruction at a power facility. Let's find out what's happening in Ukraine. Joseph Lindsley with us. Hello to you, Joe. You okay today?
Yeah, Bob. Good afternoon from Kyiv. It's a cold day here, which is a reminder that we face a long winter ahead of us with these power problems. And it's been fairly calm here in Kyiv. We had an air alarm throughout the morning and another one in the middle of the night. And the Ukrainian government has said to expect power outages throughout Ukraine. And some of these are sort of power outages you might see, say, in California in order to conserve energy. Mm-hmm. So these are planned operations. And, for example, today I was just trying to meet a colleague for lunch, and you had to look for restaurants that had electricity. So it's something that we are feeling in the moment here, especially with this new cold weather. And this is, it's clearly this is the Kremlin's plan. I'm sure this was in the plan for many months. As soon as the cold weather arrives to try to cripple Ukraine's infrastructure, because they've been unable to win on the ground. But you still see, again, these examples of Ukrainian cheerful defiance. My friend in Odesa, Yaroslav, he owns a jazz club there, and he wrote this little post on Facebook saying, this is actually a good thing. He says, for so long we've lived with unlimited electricity. We use too much. And now in this moment, a new habit will be developed. We will have reasonable energy usage, and this is a habit that will help us save money. Let's learn to live more generously and more thoughtfully. And then you'll see that we will one day thank ourselves for these new skills. And so that is so much the attitude of the Ukrainians who, they're resourceful people. Part of that's because they suffered so much throughout their history, including the 70 years of Soviet oppression. But people know how to build things. They know how to make things. And so I do see that strength as we go into this new challenge that we're facing now.
Yeah, that's amazing how they roll with the punches. It's so inspiring. What about these new drones we're hearing about? How concerned are you with those? I saw something on the news about these larger drones, Iranian drones, and they have, I think, double the firepower of the drones that have been over your head lately, Joe.
Yeah, so the drones that have been over my head are those self-same Iranian drones. And, Russia, it's hard to know all this, but by many accounts, Russia is running low on its missile supply because they fired so many missiles over Ukraine since February, whether from the Caspian Sea or the Black Sea or Belarus. They're running low on that supply, but now they have this new supply of these kamikaze drones, the size of a small car, and they can just absolutely destroy a building. And this is now this is what we're seeing so often throughout Ukraine now. These drone attacks, whether they're in Kyiv or in Mykolaiv on the Black Sea, and these are supplied by Iran. So Iran is now pretty fully engaged in the fight against Ukraine. And this has been a big topic, for example, in Israel. Iran wants Israel to disappear from the earth the same way that Russia wants Ukraine to disappear. And so some people are saying, Israel, can you give defensive weapons to Ukraine? But the Israeli government yesterday said no. They're trying to stay neutral because there are a lot of Russian Israelis as well. And but there's some frustration with Israel, and especially now because the Israelis know how to deal with Iranian threats, and so Ukraine really could use their help in this case. This is the next level of terror that we face. A friend of mine, and as I'm traveling the country during these current weeks. I encourage everyone to follow us at UkrainianFreedomNews.com. We're posting a lot of stories and videos of real life here and what people really are talking about. And a friend of mine in one of those videos said, he sees Ukrainians as the bodyguards of the civilized world, standing up to the horsemen of the apocalypse. And he said, Ukrainians are willing to fight and to die, not just for Ukraine, but for the freedom of the world. And all Ukrainians need is support. They need weapons, and then they will do the hard work of fighting. So this is a message to Israel and to everyone else from Ukrainians: is just give all the support you can if we want this to, if we don't want to be talking about this 1 year from now, 5 years from now. let's win this thing as soon as we can.
UkrainianFreedomNews.com. We also post all of our talks with Joseph at WGNRadio.com on our show page. What I don't understand this martial law business that Putin has declared in those annexed regions, because legally those aren't his. So what is he trying to do? What are the people there saying, Joe?
Bob, this is sort of the victim mentality propaganda that Putin seems to love. But he's, by declaring martial law, he's saying this is our territory. I mean, it has been ever since Russia occupied these territories. It's been the martial lawlessness, you could say. I mean, people in the city of Kherson, as I mentioned before to you, can't walk outside. You cannot speak Ukrainian in those streets. You could be shot or imprisoned. And so Putin's saying, this martial law, he's trying to shift the narrative, and he can be very effective at this. I was reading a BBC story where I see them sort of, using his language. They even spelled the Dnipro River, which goes through the Kherson region, in the Russian style. And they're saying that Putin is ordering the evacuation of citizens from Kherson so they will be protected from Ukrainian shelling. And this sort of filters into our Western media. So I think we have to be really have to watch this carefully, because he's trying to amazingly paint Ukraine as the aggressor, as Ukrainians and with the help of the West try to liberate the region of Kherson, which has been absolutely brutalized by Russia since the very first weeks of the war.
Let me leave you with something that you're going to smile about, Joseph. This came in after our conversation yesterday. Please tell Joe there is a brick from the St. Michael Monastery from Kyiv in Ukraine in the face of the Chicago Tribune building. I don't know whether you've ever seen it when you've been in Chicago, Joseph, but they have bricks from important places around the world embedded and labeled in the building.
That's fantastic to know. And again, always great to have these connections, especially with Chicago. And that reminds me that as well that in 2021, President Zelensky, he's Jewish in culture and in his childhood, he added the image of St. Michael to the seal of Ukraine. Now, a lot of people wondering why you're doing that, but St. Michael, ancient Christian tradition, is known as the fighter of against demons and evil, and so there's a lot of symbolism here because it comes from a deep and rich history. But yeah, it's good to know that there's that connection there in the streets of Chicago.
So fascinating, Joseph. Be well. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.